Hey, what's up, everybody? Brett Mix here from Macho Wrestling 101, and welcome back to the Monday Night Wars. This is week 92. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying them. I'm having a blast doing them. So here we go to the WWF side. Ratings for this week were 2.9 for Raw and 3.4 for Nitro. WCW wins for the 55th week in a row. Nitro won by a total of 0.5 viewers. That was the difference. So now after this week's loss, the total scoreboard is now 17 wins for the WWF, 73 losses, and 2 draws all time through the 92 weeks of the Monday Night War. Raw was on last week with Nitro being on Tuesday, so Raw was alone and it did a 4.1 rating. Therefore, I don't count last week of Nitro or Raw in the reviews because I'm only doing the wars when they faced each other on the week by basis. So with Nitro not on the air, Raw did a 4.1 last week. That was it from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, where the Hart Foundation were heroes. Well, I'll just quickly run down what happened there before I jump into this Raw review. So the Raw we missed, Vader defeated Ken Shamrock by count at 7:02. Brian Christopher defeated Brian Walsh. The Godwins defeated the Headbangers and the New Blackjacks in a triple threat tag match to become #1 contenders. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeated the Patriot by countout. Goldust defeated Farouk by DQ, and then the Hart Foundation, Bret Owen and the Bulldog defeated Dude Love, Austin, and Undertaker in a 6-man tag team flag match. Also, back to this week's show, as this went head-to-head with Nitro on the 28th. So now we're going for this week's. Now this is the war again, and Nitro beat Raw yet again, as I said. 3.4 to 2.9. It went on live this week's episode on the USA Network on July 28th, 1997, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This week's Raw, the Hart Foundation were also not the heroes anymore. They were the heels this time. This is the go-home show to SummerSlam 97. McMahon Ross on commentary from the Pittsburgh Civic Arena on July the 28th, 1997. The Hart Foundation, after being heroes at Canadian Stampede and 2 of the last 3 Raws in both Edmonton and Halifax, respectively, are hated here in Pittsburgh just like they were 2 weeks ago in San Antonio. Patriotism running wild between both countries, and that's the main storyline in the Federation. USA versus Canada. It was a great time. Flags everywhere, as are the signs. Signs in the crowd is becoming a big fad for the WWF. This is, again, SummerSlam 97's go-home show, and they did a lot of the rivalries well tonight. JR talks about how Bret could have been fined for how he treated Mr. McMahon the week before. Ross asked Bret if he had anything to say to the fans in Pittsburgh. USA is chanted before Bret can speak. Bret says, first of all, he just wants a little chit-chat with Mark Messier, and he opened up his eyes. Mark Messier left New York Rangers to go to the Vancouver Canucks, a Canadian team, so he's just poking fun that one of the best hockey stars went back to Canada. All you have to do is look at O.J. Simpson, he says, to look at American justice. He says, fear and hope are some of the same, and Americans just want to screw you. Well, wait until Survivor Series. He says he will never wrestle on American soil if he loses to The Undertaker. Bret says next week you have HBK in the match. He also says that, which is, he's naming things that are going against him. He also says if he were to give the U.S. an enema, you'd stick it right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that got boos, obviously. And Bret says at SummerSlam he'll be a 5-time WWF champion, and he'll bring the title belt back to Canada where it belongs. I was going to say bring the cup back to Canada because that's a line that a lot of hockey fans use. Opening match, the Legion of Doom defeated Los Boricuas, Miguel Perez and Savio Vega. LOD won it by 3-1 after the Godwins interfered after the match, and Henry Godwin slop-dropped Hawk again, as he did a couple weeks ago, busting him open on the ramp. He slop-dropped him by the ring, and then dumped slop all over his face. Half a star for that match. Helmsley was going to get it on with Vader, but he was jumped by Mankind, who was disguised himself as a video cameraman, sitting at ringside. Michael Moorer from Pittsburgh was in the crowd as well. That's Moorer, not Michael Moore. Michael Moorer, the boxer. Another great promo for Brockus, who is going to be this big body superstar, but nothing ever happened with him. The Truth Commission make their debut as they take on Bob Holly, Flash Funk, and Jesse James in a 6-man tag match. Recon was later known as Bull Buchanan, dropped Funk. Jesse James came in to take on Sniper, who got an assist. The interrogator was Kurgan, and he got the victory after a sidewalk slam to Holly at 3:23. I give it a star and a quarter. They then run a promo video where the Patriot, due to being in the main event tonight with Bret Hart, he cuts a short promo on that, and they show more about who the Patriot, Del Wilkes, is. Crush with 8-ball chains and skull takes on Farouk with Ahmed Johnson, D'Lo Brown, and Kama Mustafa. Crush, the leader of the DOA, against Farouk, the leader of the nation, and his former boss. So a lot on the line otherwise in this passable match. Ahmed's returned, and he looks different in the nation. Nonetheless, the bell rings, and they all salute. This is the pre-Rocky Maivia Nation days, so the best days of the nation are still to come. Farouk drops blows with Crush. Crush stood up to him. Both gangs didn't wait long to get involved, the DOA and the Nation. Even Los Periquas did after a double DQ at 3:17. Sloppy match. I gave it a dud. That does it for the first hour of Raw. We enter the second hour. They show the Godwins' earlier attack on the LOD and how they're number one contenders for the tag titles against Austin and Dude Love. Pyro goes off for the second hour, and Raw is War is now the War Zone. The Godwins take on Dude Love and Austin. Austin gets by far his biggest pop ever in his career to this point. And he went on to work on the Godwins, double teaming them, hitting them head to head, grabbing both of them by the head and then smacking them together, noggin knocker. And the Godwins end up winning by countout, but don't get the titles after Owen Hart ran up and attacked Austin, and Owen was on commentary, and Bulldog was. And they just pretty much ran down Shamrock and Austin, their SummerSlam opponents. LOD came out to even the odds, but good segment and a decent match with Austin in his pre-neck injury days, where his work rate was just phenomenal and he could go everywhere. You just got to wonder how good Austin would have been if he didn't get injured. It's truly amazing how good of a wrestler he was, too. I gave that match a star and a half. Devin Storm in a lightweight heavyweight match took on Ace Darling. They really wanted to match the cruiserweight division. Storm won at 44 seconds. I gave it a half star after a Hurricane Rana. The Bulldog and Shamrock are setting up a table for an arm wrestling match. Shamrock was winning, so the Bulldog dropped him with a headbutt and then chair shots. Dog food then is poured all over Shamrock. Goldust came out with Marlena taking on Rockabilly with the Honky Tonk Man. Marlena and Goldust get in the mic and talk about Pillman wearing a dress. Rockabilly and Goldust brawled a little and ended in a no contest at 116. Pillman came out and assaulted Goldust and then tried to throw the dress on him. I gave it a quarter of a star. Before this, Rockabilly slapped the boxer, Michael Moore, at ringside, and he gave him a solid shoot right hand of his own. It looked real and looked legit, so that was a great punch. That's probably one of the best punches by like a boxer or any celebrity figure coming into the WWE. I mean, we've seen so many boxers and fighters come into WWE and then do a fake punch, or actors. That was probably one of the best I've seen, as he drops Rockabilly. HBK is out next. Pyro, even though it's just a promo, and he's going to do commentary. Michael says he has nothing to apologize for after last week's actions. One thing's he's safer out there than he is back there, wherever that means, that he's safer in the ring than he is backstage. Bret Hart then comes up to the ring and asks for the fans to shut up, and he asks for the Canadian National Anthem, which plays in its entirety, to my surprise. I remember it being interrupted a lot, but it played in its entirety while Bret stood there, the proud Canadian. The Patriot took on Bret Hart, Del Wilkes. The Patriot going one-on-one, and the Patriot then asked for the American Anthem to be played. And it doesn't stop, but Bret attacks him. Bret did not get a lot of... Bret got a respectable match out of him. Patriot's legs were wrapped around the post. Patriot ended up defeating Bret Hart at 6:24 after HBK distracted Bret on the commentary table. A big upset. HBK dancing around on the table while Bret jumps toward him on the ring holding the ropes mad while the referees are holding them back. Then the gong rings and the Undertaker comes down to do a stare down with Bret as we go off the air. As Bret would meet the Undertaker, I give that match 2 stars. Overall, a quality rating of 7.5 out of 10 for this week's Raw. This show was a great for the SummerSlam build. They had great star power with Austin, Owen, Bret, HBK, Shamrock, Bulldog, Mankind, Triple H, Undertaker, and so on. The booking just made sense on this episode, and you just get lost in the era this was, the Canada versus States, and how great it was. The booking made sense. It did the most with what it had. This is one of the better Raws, so 7.5 out of 10 seems right for it. A good go-home show to SummerSlam 1997, which is a good pay-per-view. It's actually one of the better SummerSlams. So after 92 weeks, it looks like this for Raw. Once again, after 92 weeks of going head-to-head with Nitro, Raw has 17 wins, 73 losses, including this 55th straight loss, and 2 draws. Thanks again for watching. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll be with you for the next Raw review. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out.